Hello and welcome to the much anticipated, eagerly awaited
Eagle
lifestyle
awaited.
show. It's been a while since it's been all four of us in the same room. How's everyone doing?
Yeah, we're not in the same room.
No, that's true. Virtual room. We are
Right here.
Yeah.
Virtually, we're together.
Yeah. How's things going, Alex?
Perfect.
Yeah.
All good. Yeah. Just recovered from COVID, so that's fun.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a bout of it last week. I was feeling rough on my stream on Tuesday. I thought, oh, maybe I've just got a cold or something. But I did a test and it said it was. So.
Did the whole family
Yeah, that's my second dose of it now. That must be it now. I think I've had the Delta, I've had the Omicron. That's probably everything ticked off now. But yeah, now feeling good.
The family get it too, or was it just you?
No. My wife is completely immune to it. She never gets it.
Cool.
She's lived with us through the first wave and the second wave, and we've all had it and breathed all over her, coughed in her face and everything. And she seems fine. I don't know. It's weird. Some people just don't get it. They're the lucky ones.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Other than that, all good. I'm going to be streaming later. Actually, I'll do a quick plug now. I'm going to be streaming later because I didn't do a stream last night. So come join me at 8:30 UK time for that. And
What are you talking about, Alex?
Site reviews, isn't it?
Doing some site reviews. I might also have a play with Jasper Art, which is my new favorite toy, which is the AI image creation software. So I might throw it open to the crowd and see if they've got any inspiration to see what we can conjure up with Jasper Art.
I've seen some image. You sent us some as well. I've seen some like loads on the Facebook group. They look awesome, but every now and again it throws out a human face, which is all mangled up and stuff. I don't know if you've seen those ones, haven't it?
Yeah, I'm just editing a video on it. Been playing with it quite a lot. For humans, it's not very good. They just look weird, freakish. Sometimes their hands are kind of all like claw shaped and teeth and eyes all mad. But for animals, for other stuff, where I wanted pictures of popcorn in a freezer or bits of cheese on a tray in an oven or anything like that, it's perfect. But humans, it's not quite there yet. And anything fantasy, anything like that, anything kind of abstract comes out really well as well. The only problem I've got at the moment is that the images are quite small. They're only like 500 by 500. So that's okay if it's within your content, but for featured images and stuff, you then have to kind of drop them into Canva and add an extra background or something. But I think that's going to improve. It's early days, but it's still mind-blowing. How the hell does it even work? I don't know.
It's crazy how it does that.
How different is it from like the free tool that was out there? I suspect that free tool is what's powering it behind. So what is Jasper?
DALL-E?
DALL-E 2.
DALL-E. Yeah, Jasper is powered by DALL-E. I think all that Jasper does is add a nice interface, gives you a history, no limit on the number of images, that kind of thing. Yeah,
okay.
A lot of them all use the same engine or whatever, don't they?
Right.
I saw a comment which kind of sums up the. I know we've talked about AI stuff and how you can use it with other things, but someone said the image generator is like a visual representation of AI. If you look at it and squint at it, it looks like an awesome picture of a human. When you actually look at it, it's like, where's his fingers? What's happened to his ears? It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's why I think I think for certain things it's fine.
Yeah,
like if you need a cow with some popcorn or something like that, it's fine. But I don't know. We'll see how useful it becomes. Whether you could just create those images with some stock and Canva, maybe. We'll see. Yeah. It's exciting anyway, and it is fun. Just to kind of throw some ideas in there.
It's pretty cool.
What are you guys up to, Doug?
So for me, I was out for a bit. My dad was in town, so he was here for like 10 days. Got some good hiking in with him and went out to the mountains for a bit. And then just on Monday, I saw I didn't have anything scheduled and didn't have much to do, and the weather was going to be perfect. So I went and hiked for about 10 miles up above the tree line. It was great. You can't get a cell phone signal up there. So even if you want to check your email or post a picture, you can't do it. So it's kind of a perfect place to get away. So yeah, Pretty good. Just enjoying the weather around here while it's sort of the tail end of summer, so that there's not as many like afternoon showers and stuff like that. So yeah, just hanging out, having a good time.
Nice. Mr. Smith, how's it going with you?
Yeah, not too much. We took our little boy bowling last weekend, and now he's become obsessed with it. And I use the term bowling very loosely because he's got the little, it's like a little ramp thing which you just line up and they push the ball down. But we've been a couple of times now because he just every morning he wakes up. Are we going bowling today? No, not today, mate. Like maybe tomorrow. So yeah, we've been bowling a couple of times. Much less sporty than Doug, to be fair. Bowling a couple of times and getting ready for Spain. So we're leaving the UK on Saturday, early hours Sunday morning, Saturday night. So packing up and getting ready for that.
How's your Spanish?
No comprende. That's it. That's the extent of it.
Good. You'll be fine. Luckily, a lot of the Spanish have taken the time to learn English, so you're fine.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah.
And Mark, what's new with you?
Oh, good. So, like, I'm feeling better with my legs, finally. I had leg issues. I've been taking antibiotics for like 5 weeks. But I think I figured out they just diagnosed me wrong. And like the fix for what they should have diagnosed me for isn't antibiotics. That's why they weren't working. And he said I just needed to rest. So they looked at me like I was insane.
Yeah.
But totally like when I they kept saying things like, well, it's weird that you got this in both legs. It never happens in both legs. Oh, it's weird the antibiotics don't work. It's weird that you didn't have a scratch or a bite where this bacteria got in. All of the red flags saying like, yeah, well, it probably isn't what you think it is then. And
standard British doctor's response to anything. Here, have some antibiotics.
They just Google it as well, don't they? Just get on WebMD, Google your symptoms, and say, "Oh, infection, antibiotics. That's what you need."
Well, even if you haven't got an infection, they'd be like, "Well, just try some antibiotics to start with. See if that
just in case."
And then they go, "Oh God, we're in some antibiotics crisis, and they don't work anymore." Wonder why that is.
I was so annoyed because I actually even went for a DVT scan at one point, like in case I had DVT. But I was like, well, but they're like, oh, but you normally only get DVT in one leg. So that's a bit weird if you'd have it in two. Like all these things were just like weren't adding up.
So what actually was it? You just needed to lie down for a bit.
I can't remember the name of it. It's something long, but it's. I was literally just waiting for the scan. I was doing more googling because I've been googling for ages. They're going, well, if it wasn't a scratch or something or an insect bite, there might be some underlying issues that you've got here going on that we need to investigate, like because it's not going away. And I'm like, oh shit. But I've been googling for ages trying to find out, what's wrong with me, kind of thing. And then when I started googling like cellulitis in two legs, it started coming up with articles like cellulitis and its mimickers, or things that are often confused with cellulitis. And once I read down them, and I was like, that's what I've got. Like, not that. That's what I've got. And it kind of became clear to me that. So I self-diagnosed those for myself while I was waiting for a scan, basically.
Yeah. I mean, let's not rant about health service or healthcare, but yeah. My last serious condition with my sinusitis, the only way I fixed it was by Googling it, finding out what was wrong with myself, finding it out for myself. And because otherwise they just kept giving me antibiotics, which just simply weren't working.
Yeah.
But there we go.
Other than that, yeah, all good. I went into Brighton, South Coast,
lovely Brighton.
Close we can get to Spain and in the UK. But yeah, I went down to that other weekend on my own. Like me and my wife took some time ourselves for a few days without kids, without anything. That's the first time I've done it in like 8-9 years.
Well, you just left the kids at home alone.
It was good and unnerving. Oh no, not with my wife. My wife stayed home too.
Oh, okay.
It was literally me, and I had no responsibilities. I just wandered around, and it was great. So
cool.
Yeah,
sounds good.
A few days over the weekend. So
before we move on to risk, let's quickly answer the question from Ahmad, who asks, "How is the Google helpful content update with all of you guys?" The question on everyone's lips. Doug, how is the Google helpful content with you?
No real news right now. I think we were chatting a couple days ago, and I think I saw a little bit more traffic, but sometimes that happens. And then a couple days later, it looks like there's a little less traffic, but sometimes that happens too. So I have no idea.
So nothing unusual.
No, nothing unusual here either. Adam and I have got a show on this topic tomorrow, thinking there's going to be stuff to talk about, right? And it's not really a lot to talk about, but I think we can cover off some stuff about where Google's going and why they would want to have such an update, I think. But yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of action. How about you, Alex? You saw a bit, didn't you?
No,
No?
Well, I thought
thought
the
you
site
did.
was maybe down, but again, as Doug says, the sites do go down and up. That's just the way traffic goes, and it's now back up to slightly higher than as it was, growing as expected. I mean, if no one had mentioned this update, then I wouldn't have thought anything out of the ordinary. It just looks like kind of normal movements. It's often the updates that Google hype up that don't seem to do much. It's the ones that they don't talk about that seem to have a bigger effect.
Well, the product review update had some effect on some people, didn't it? But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it still hasn't finished rolling out yet.
Yeah, it's going to hit us all on the last day.
Although it was supposed to be last week, but they do take a couple of weeks, don't they? And I think it didn't even start going out until maybe Wednesday or Thursday last week.
Yeah. I mean, the way I read it is that it mainly rolls out straight away, and then they fix it for a few weeks when they've kind of got issues. But like, I think most of it's often is in the early days you'll see it. But anyway, who we got? We got Phil here. We got Daniel. We've got Dee. We've got Scott, Ahmed. We've got Vince, Gaz, and Neo. So welcome everybody to the show. So today, still a bit of housekeeping before we kick off with the truth about, what was it talking about? Truth about risks, taking risks. That's right. So like and subscribe to the show if you haven't already. More people, more fun. This is a show that we rotate on the WP Eagle channel, Doug's channel, and then this channel. So we rotate it every week. So the link to each of the channels in the description. So make sure you sign up to all those so you don't miss one of these shows. If we get 35 likes today, then we'll do a giveaway for some niche website builders merchandise, t-shirts, mugs, caps, etc. Quick note on the Building Empires event. We've got another one running in January, February next year. Head over to building.empires.live to register for that and watch replays of the show that we had in June. And last but not least, best deals for niche website builders. Grab a link in the description to pick up some offers on our services if you would like. Other than that, let's talk about risk. I've got a kind of idea about how I want to take this discussion. However, it'd be good to get your view on like how you guys view risk and what is risk to you. So, Adam, how about you get started? What does risk mean to you?
Yeah, when we first talked about this, my instant thought was risk, financial risk. Like that was where my brain instantly went. Financial risk, either in terms of risk of putting money into something and not working, or not putting money into something and losing the opportunity to make money. So instantly, when you said risk, I thought, well, one, how risky is this as a business model? Can you lose money? How much money does it take? That kind of thing. And then also, if you didn't put money into this, like what are the opportunity costs you're missing out on? We talked before about how you can make a really good ROI. Like for me, they're the two risks that first came to mind is financial and opportunity cost risk.
Mm-hmm. What does a good risk or a bad risk look like to you in that kind of scenario?
Yeah, well, opportunity cost risk is for me is quite easy to kind of sum up really in a sentence or two. And we've talked on a previous episode about how I'm probably a bit more risk averse than you guys, and if I could take out a massive amount of capital for the interest rate I would get on my mortgage, for example, then I would be leveraged up to the eyeballs to invest in digital assets. So for me, the opportunity risk is can I make more money in this area than I can via, borrowing money or investing money in other places, i.e. stock market or real estate. The answer I've come to, which is why most of my money is in my portfolio, is yes, I can do that. And then in terms of losing money, the risk of losing money, I think kind of past the point of worrying about that now because I've seen it work so many times and I've been through the process. So my risk of losing money is actually quite low, apart from if I buy a site and gets hit in the Google unhelpful content update, as Vince says, then that's a risk to me, is that I buy a site these days and it tanks the day after I buy it or something like that.
Yeah. I guess one of the reasons I ask is like a lot of people or some people view all risk as bad, right? Risk is just a negative word. So avoid risk at all costs. Just always stay as safe as you can 100% of the time.
Doug, you like this. I've just finished reading a book called, or almost finished reading a book called Just Keep Buying, about investing in the financial markets. And they talk about risk there, the risk of not being invested. And they basically said, if you were God, and at the start of every year, we told you that you would know exactly how much the market dropped by every year, but we didn't tell you when, would you invest at the start of every year? Or would you wait and invest then? And it's a ridiculous stat. It sounds counterintuitive, the book said, but basically, if you waited to buy at the bottom of every dip, even if you knew when it was coming, 96% of the time you would underperform if you just kept buying monthly, like the average dollar costing. So the opportunity risk for sitting on the sideline waiting to buy the dip, because that dip may never, or it might take 12 years to become a new low, and you think, oh, I'm going to buy the dip now because it's the lowest it's ever been. The time that you spent out of the market is just doesn't give you the opportunity to make any money.
Yep. Yeah, I think
There's probably a
you
name for
summarized
that,
it well.
in Firespace. Yeah, there's a name for that, isn't there? But
Probably. Yeah. I don't know if I mean, you made the point well, so I won't repeat it.
What about you then, Doug? What does risk mean to you?
We don't prepare before these, so it's almost like an oral exam. You're like, well, define risk and what it means to you. So, and I had plenty of time to think while Adam was talking. Now I'm just buying more time. But, I think I look at it as the possibility of a loss, right? So some loss, and, you were talking earlier, Adam, with opportunity cost and just opportunities in general. And I think back from the project management days, like maybe you list out the risks that you have at the beginning of a project, and the opposite of a risk is an opportunity. So it's like the probability or the likelihood of something good happening, and you don't know. So it's like opportunities and risks, and they kind of play against each other a little bit. And when I do think about risk, and this is an idea, I was interviewing someone, a lady named Paula Pant, and she talked about risk capacity and then risk tolerance. So now I think about it a little bit like that. So maybe, earlier when we were first getting started, our risk tolerance may have been, fairly high because we didn't know what we didn't know. So we didn't realize how risky some of the things we were doing. But then your risk capacity is a little different. So maybe in the beginning, when our net worth was lower, we had a lower risk capacity because we couldn't handle a catastrophic issue. But now that we've been working for a little while, we have a bigger war chest, we have other assets, we have other skills. So our risk capacity is maybe much higher. So I think it's probably important to, make sure your risk tolerance and your risk capacity are kind of aligned, because if you have a really high risk tolerance but a low capacity, you could lose everything. And, vice versa, if you have a big risk capacity, like Adam, it sounds like, you're at a point, you're confident, you have more skills. And then at this point, you have a bigger risk capacity, and your tolerance should kind of follow along. Otherwise, like, you're not taking chances that maybe are pretty high likelihood, maybe a good bet to take for various reasons. So I think about the tolerance and capacity, and then how it fits in with like not just the website income or assets, but also like my time as an asset, like how that plays into it, and just overall the rest of my assets. So maybe I could be riskier in certain areas because it's very secure in other spots that are unrelated.
Yeah. Cool. Makes sense. Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think life is a risk, isn't it? Life is full of risk. You take risk every time you make a decision about anything, really. Mm-hmm. Even the restaurant that you choose to eat at, you risk a bad meal, food poisoning. I don't know, whatever. There's always a risk involved, and you make your decisions based on that. And now I don't have any problem with risk. I mean, I haven't spoken about this before, really, but I used to have a quite a bad gambling addiction, so I was never worried about risk. I'd place ridiculous wagers on ridiculous bets and not really worry. I managed to squash that now, thankfully. But that trait is still with me. I'm still not worried about risk. And I think it probably started way back when probably a lot of people think this, is that when they have a job, that removes risk from their income. You know, a job is safe. It's very low risk. But of course, that's an illusion, because the risk is there, and in fact, the risk is out of your hands, because someone else can just fire you the next day or whatever, and that's the end of that job. So I think the way I deal with risk is, if I can bring it and manage it and make decisions based on what I'm doing, then I feel like I'm in control and I don't worry too much about risk. Now, of course, what we do is very risky. I mean, Adam is obviously very confident in his portfolio and in his websites, but it's still very risky, especially with Google and other things, factors, again, outside of your control. Google can wake up one morning and change your income without you being able to do anything about it. So, yeah, I think risk definitely is tied in with reward. Generally, the more risk there is, the higher the reward. And obviously, you've got to play that as it suits you. But I think Doug did touch on a very important point. It really depends on your means and what you're risking, what you're putting on the line, and how much tolerance you have towards that risk. But I don't think we can avoid risk. I think if you think you're avoiding risk, then it's probably an illusion, and you're actually in a pretty risky situation, and you're just not aware of it. You just think you are.
Yeah, I think it's all good points, and I think it's mitigations we can put, you know, for any risks at any time, or for anything. But I think the way I think about it is, I think of it as like the risk of inaction. So, like, quite often the risk is not doing something; it's the risk of not doing it. So, and like I think about, similar to what you said about jobs there. I'm like, when I first finished school, I had a gap of 3 years that I worked before I went to university, and decided to do that instead. And I worked in insurance, and I said I'm quitting insurance, and my dad was like, "What the hell are you doing? This is insane. Like, you're in at the bottom. Like, you know, give it 20, 25 years, you're going to be like one of the top, you know, in insurance." And that's like a really respectable kind of industry. He just thought it was just mental. He was just, for him, it was just such a big risk, even though I was like 20, you know, it was such a big risk to take, because I had such a good job that would set me up for life and keep me good. He was a civil servant and an architect. So he was like, that's it. You know, that's just like what he did. Although they got rid of all the civil servants at one point, and he had to find a job somewhere else. So it wasn't exactly that safe. But anyway, so yeah, I often think about it. I often think about things like, if often standing still is the bigger risk, actually, than actually taking what people perceive to be the risky thing. And the other thing, I guess you just meant, I also have played a lot of poker in the past. I don't play so much anymore, but like, yeah, I always think about risks there, because every hand you play is a risk. You might be a 98% favorite in a hand, but you still got a 2% chance of losing. So that's still a risk, and you just play those percentages. Ideally, for poker, you always want to be more likely to win than lose, but doesn't mean you're going to win that time. But over the long run, you're going to win.
But it's often those hands where you may be down and you've got a low chance of winning that can really pay big, because that's when you can sucker someone in who they think they've got the best chance of winning, and the bet start. That's why I don't bet anymore or gamble. So yeah,
let's not talk about that anymore.
Yeah,
no, it's fine. It's fine. I still play poker now and again with friends. I enjoy a game of poker for sure. But yeah, I think risk is a funny old thing, isn't it? You've got to embrace it. It stops you from achieving your what you maybe want in life. I mean, for example, moving here to Spain, and what Adam's doing now is risky. A lot of people wouldn't dream of moving to another country. It's far too risky, far too many things to worry about, far too many risks. But I think a lot of it is actually in your mind. Actually, it's not as risky as you think. It's just you conjure up these ideas of risk. But actually, once you follow it through and actually do something, and that kind of can have a real positive effect on your life.
And I'll jump in to piggyback off of that, Alex. I think, I'm not sure if it applies directly to like websites, but I think perhaps. So I think a lot of people get stuck in the research phase, or like choosing a niche, or like finding more keywords. Like I feel like they're trying to lower the risk.
Yeah.
They may call it perfectionism, but they're like, I want to prepare as much as possible ahead of time. I want to try to optimize everything as I go. And a lot of times, you know, it's people that are inexperienced. So they're trying to optimize something they don't understand. Again, trying to lower the risk. And it's back to your point, Mark, like maybe it's forcing inaction, but it feels like work and it feels like they're doing something productive because they're using tools, and like it's just a form of procrastination and, you know, avoiding risk because people don't want to waste their time. But I mean, I think all of us probably wasted some time, or at least there were failed projects along the way because we needed to learn certain lessons, or we tested out business models that didn't pan out, or it just wasn't a good fit for us individually. And I think people that are like super risk averse, you end up in a spot where like either you don't take action or you try to over prepare and you end up just wasting time because you can't optimize something you don't understand. Or if there's like way too many variables, then it's like us trying to figure out the recent algorithm update.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just too many things.
And you see that all the time, actually. People, they're just trying to eliminate all the risk from a new project. Oh, you see people asking, can you tell me a niche that's going to be profitable? There's low competition.
Yeah.
You know, they just want the answer. They just want that dead cert bet. Whatever, you know, okay, you do this niche, build this site, create these articles, guaranteed $1 million. Easy peasy.
Go through that. The minute we're trying to do a budget and forecast for next year for the business, and we're like, on paper, this is easy. On paper, this is so easy. All the risk is gone on paper, and everything will go 100% right. And we know as soon as next year starts, this will fall apart within the first month, and we'll have to revisit and come back every month and tweak and adjust. But right now, me and Martha talked earlier, we're like, oh, this is awesome. How confident are we for next year? But I know as soon as January comes, all that risk, all that real life risk is on the table, and we'll have to amend and change as we go.
I think we're going to talk about the big data project and trying to eliminate some of the risk there, because we know that, analyzing 5,000 websites and kind of giving some indication of what you need to invest in. And but we've talked about that a bit before. So, but I thought that's where you were going to go. But yeah, we were trying to do some planning for next year. I think. Sorry, go for it.
Oh, I was going to say I have a question for the group, if I could throw it in, Mark.
Yeah.
When you guys are starting new projects, especially you, Mark, and Adam, a new product or a new initiative or something like that, do you go through and list out the risks ahead of time? So like I mentioned, the project management that I was doing before, a lot of times we would list things out. So if you're starting, a new website or something, it's like, okay, what are our risk points? How could we mitigate those? So, traffic, maybe it's coming from Google. We have to think about algorithm updates. Maybe it's on the monetization side with Amazon, and we have to think about different commission rates, things outside of our control. And then, they could span whatever, a list of 100 different risks. And then, you can assign probabilities, you could prioritize them, you revisit them throughout the project and have a better understanding. So yeah, just curious to the group, do you do that kind of exercise?
I wouldn't say I actually do it and kind of write it down and are very diligent about it at all. I think a lot of the risks when you're starting a new website, for example, they're the same as the risks for the last website you started. Mm-hmm. So you've kind of got that there. I think there's certain things I'll always do. I'll always aim to do. So I always try to these days try and build a list and some sort of community around websites that I build, so that it's not all solely on Google, and hopefully kind of build some traction there and try and make it more like a real business, I guess, longer term. But in terms of like writing all of those things down, like I say, they're quite often very similar. I guess different niches, they might have some differences, but I think for me, it's like a well understood set of risks and rewards that I don't need to kind of revisit most of the time, I'd say.
Yeah, and I guess just when we're launching kind of new products and stuff, again, I don't think we've never done like a SWOT analysis when we launch a new product of the strengths and weaknesses and that. But I think we take other steps, like we will make sure we've got enough resources. We'll go through how the onboarding works and make sure that, like from an operational perspective, all that kind of stuff works. So I guess try and reduce risk up front as much. But like with the internal linking service, which was the last thing we launched that, and then we did almost like a beta launch first. It was a small launch first before it was rolled out across all the products, so we could see how that worked, and how long does it take our team to actually do it in real life with someone's actual site, going on there and doing it rather than just our test sites and stuff. So yeah, I think you can remove risk as you go. You don't have to write it down necessarily. I mean, writing it down as a SWOT analysis is probably awesome if you've got the time to do it, but you probably fall back into that analysis phase then where you're trying to eliminate all risks by writing down a business plan and a SWOT analysis and forecasts and all kinds of stuff. And you're probably doing that at the expense of actually getting started usually.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and how often do those things actually come into fruition, all those things that you predict and forecast? And
yeah, like I said, never really, in my experience, falls apart in month one usually, but yeah.
This is not what you were saying earlier.
No, I know that.
Well, and on the converse side, I don't do it either, by the way, but on the converse side, by listing them out and then assigning the probability, it may like free you up to just say, oh, these are unlikely or outside of my control. I could just move on. So that's my thought. Like when you document it, then you're like, okay, it's out of my head. I don't have to worry about those. Or you can create a plan like, hey, we'll revisit, quarterly or something like that. But yeah, I don't do it either. So it's just a theoretical.
Yeah. Cool. So if you recall, we spoke a few weeks back now about the truth about motivation, and it kind of came from Stephen Bartlett's book, Happy, Sexy Millionaire. And one of the books he refers to was by a lady called Bonnie Ware, who was a nurse, and the book's called The Top 5 Regrets of Dying. Remember? And so it's like she would always nurse people at the end of their life, essentially, but where sort of clarity or lots of clarity about their life sort of comes into focus because the end of their life isn't at some point in the future; it's imminent. And one of the five regrets was never taking risks. So I'll kind of mention that again. But also, there's a chapter in that book where the chapter's called "Gambling Like a Happy, Sexy Millionaire," because the book's called Happy, Sexy Millionaire, where he talks about like number of active hours you have in your life. So if you live to be 80, for example, you have about 700,000 hours. 500,000 of them are probably active. The rest are sleeping. And no matter how hard you try, like you might be able to eat a bit better and do a bit of exercise and get a few more hours, but ultimately we're all stuck with ever diminishing time. And he started talking about having these gambling chips, and essentially you can think of it as like every hour you're putting down one of these chips, and you can kind of never get it back. Like, so every time you do place a chip, it should be with. And this is not about being perfect, right? This is not about like saying that I never waste time doing this or never waste time doing that. Like everyone does. It's being realistic, but it's talking about like not wasting time on those things that aren't so important, and actually being conscious about where you're placing your time, and having in mind what are those longer term goals, so that when you are every day putting down a chip, that actually you're in some way working towards that goal and not wasting it on something that's some trivial issues or pleasing people or just scrolling social media or whatever. You're actually working towards something, which he also talks about he's got like a sand timer or what's it called? An hourglass. He talks about that. If you, a lot of people don't think about the finality, of your life. So like when you're doing something, like it's like there's no urgency. It's like, oh well, I can do that in the future. Like I didn't do that today, but I'll do it at some point. And you never kind of get there. Whereas if you had an hourglass with your life in sand, essentially pouring away, like you realize that, and that sort of followed you around. You realize that every decision you make actually has a cost associated with it, because that sounds like kind of like dripping away. So that's kind of
this is cheery.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, Carl just said, Jesus, Mark, I feel more depressed now than before watching the stream.
But that's
but
like
you got 350,000 hours. My God.
Yeah.
Everyone's depressed now, Mark.
It's great.
Made them aware of their own mortality.
Yeah. We're all dying like second by second.
By the
It's
way,
just slipping away.
just stop watching the stream. It's just wasting your life.
Quick.
Don't put a chip
No,
on
I
the screen.
think it's very. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, maybe just it is depressing to think about it, and people do just assume that tomorrow is always going to come along. I think when you have children, it becomes even more relevant. And this is a big factor for me in terms of just the kids. I mean, I just look at your phone or whatever always throws up a memory or Facebook of like a year ago, 6 months ago, and then I just see a photo of the children that go, God, they look different. And like that's like 6 months or a year ago, and they're already getting bigger. And just talking to Robin today, my daughter, she said, "Oh, I really want to be a teenager. I want to go out on my own and stuff." It's like, and you know that's just going to be there like that. And just time, as you say, is rapidly just slipping through our fingers. And I think that is the biggest thing, that risk, the effect that risk has on people's lives, is that it stops them from doing something now. They think, I'll do it when it's just, when the market's better, when I've got a clear idea, when I know for sure what I'm doing, when this happens, when that happens. And it's all basically risk aversion things that they're coming up with ideas. There'll be a better time to do it, the safer time to do it. And all that they're doing is wasting precious time.
We all know that. We all know this because, we all know this is true. It's not like this is not revolutionary to most people. I wouldn't imagine. Like, we all know that this thing, but still we don't. Like, often it's people that have a near-death experience, or they have some serious illness or something like that that then changes them and changes their life. Like, why is it that we all kind of know, but like we it's often, most of us aren't actually consciously thinking about it in that way until something big happens, or why is it?
Because I think most of us are just bubbling along. We're just in our little bubble. We just continue do the same things most days. Yeah. Very habitual, especially if you're in a job. You just turn up, you do your work, come home, you relax, you get paid at the end of the month, and you just keep doing that. And then suddenly something happens. They either get too old and suddenly realize, oh God, I'm old and I've missed out on everything. Or they have a big event that then triggers and kind of pops the bubble a little bit. And then they're suddenly aware of everything around them and how fast everything's slipping past them, and that they're missing opportunities. It's just the human conditioning. I mean, I think very few people actually take control of their life and make active decisions. I'm going to live here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, spend my time with these people or those people. They just literally just bounce around, just kind of following the flow of the stream, as it were, of life.
Yeah. And I was going to say, we literally, like my wife and I were doing that, just like college, kind of followed the path, the job, like where we lived. And then around 2014 or so, around the time that I started like dabbling on the side and like listening to new podcasts, Tim Ferriss, stuff like that, we were like, oh, we can move anywhere we want. So we started traveling a little bit. And I hate the label digital nomad, but technically we were digital nomads for a little bit. And
why do you hate that nomad? Why do you hate labels in general, I guess?
People have a certain preconceived notion. So like, I don't really care that much, but I like never labeled myself, but I was like, for maybe whatever, 5-6 months or something like that. But it was different, it was a little different, but I just never used the label. But anyway, we figured out that we could like make distinct decisions and do what we wanted. And Mark, you were asking like, what, people know they're going to die. Like, why don't they like value their time more? I think it's because you have to like figure out what your values are and then make decisions on that, which is tough. And then you have to cut shit out that doesn't align with your values. So like I said, I started up this thing with, I went hiking on Monday. And what I neglected was a bunch of bullshit emails that I have in my inbox, a bunch of people asking me for stuff. If you emailed me and you're like a student or a friend or whatever, I'm not talking about you, but there's just a shitload of emails. It's like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And like, turns out it doesn't matter. And even, I'll get back and say like, no, I'm not interested, but I stopped putting much time in email or priority. And everything's fine. Like I go off for a while, couple little bad things might happen, but it's usually like inconsequential. And then to fast forward to like the deathbed or the last 5 years of my life or whatever, definitely don't give a fuck about the emails that I got in the last, like it's completely inconsequential. Does not matter at all. So I'm just like wiping out like huge swaths of stuff, or like, I think you guys are more active on Twitter right now trying to get it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that at all. Like, it's just not great. I mean, you guys spend the time, like, I'm not judging you or anyone else, but I'm like, that does not align with my values and what I'm trying to do at all. And I will just miss out on, whatever it is you guys are attempting to do. Like, I'm just going to miss out on it, and it's okay because I'm doing other stuff. So again, no judgment on anyone trying to do a thing, TikTok or whatever.
Well, everyone has different things, right? Like, not
Yeah.
everyone's goals are the same. Not everyone aligns. So, but I definitely haven't kind of, I've fluffily, loosely, like, know what I want my next 10 years or future to be like. But like, have I written it down? Have I really thought about it? Have I really made sure that everything I do is aligned to that? No, not really, not at all. It's definitely something I feel like I want to do.
Some people are lazy as well, because that takes time and effort. And as humans, we just say, we'll push it to tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow. We've got loads of time to do that. I'll do it tomorrow.
That's the self-perpetuating.
Yeah, it almost feels like people drive their cars and they got a full tank of fuel and they're like, oh yeah, I don't need any fuel. And then it's half a tank. They're like, oh yeah, I'll just put some in tomorrow. And then it's quarter of a tank. Like, oh, there's still plenty in there. And it's not until the light comes on and you're like, oh my God, I actually really need to get petrol now. That you actually, and I feel like that's life. Like when you get to the point where you're like, oh my God, something serious has happened, or I don't have much time left. I actually really should start thinking about this now. I think for a lot of people, that's the case. That is the case. You just keep pushing it forward.
It's so easy to
just
revert
do
as well.
the Spanish thing. It's just mañana.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Tomorrow. Yeah.
That's the thing that's the one word I think a lot of people do know, because the Spanish are very well known for putting everything off till tomorrow.
But, yeah, it's really easy to flip back as well, because when I've had this issue of this infection with my leg just recently, like they're going, oh, like, they don't know what this problem is. Maybe it's some underlying issue. We need to start doing tests. And my mum died at the same age as I am now. Like, just add some more depression to the string.
Mark, I'm going to say, don't stop where you're going with this now. Everyone's depressed.
So my thought was like, fuck, maybe I'm just dying like the same age as my mum. Like, she died. Like, why couldn't I die at the same age? So that was just getting like, depressed about it. And then when I realized I'd been diagnosed wrong when I was waiting, that was the day before I went to Brighton. I was euphoric for 2 days. It was almost, I felt like I had a near-death experience, and I was like so happy on the top of the world. I'm like, yeah, this is brilliant. But so quickly, like back to work this week, and I'm back to like where I was like thinking I need to value life, like it could be taken away at any moment. And suddenly I'm back in it, and I forgot about that again. And I need to. So yeah, I think
it's the star of this show is definitely the comments. By the way, are you guys reading the comments as we go?
Yeah, let's go through a few. Let's go through.
This is definitely the star of the show. The comments. This will cheer us right up.
There you go. Tim's with me. For the morbidness.
Yeah, you get to that point at a certain age.
There's been a few comments. There was a few things I starred because I thought there were stuff that people might want us to pick up. Let's do the small ones first. When's the big data project out?
We're about halfway through all of
it's a lot of work, actually.
It is really a lot of work, actually. Way more than... When we first started, I was like, oh yeah, this will be fine. Like, we'll get to 5,000 sites, no problem. It's actually really hard to find, in certain niches, sites that we would consider like the type of sites we would build, i.e. monetize through display ad or affiliate sites that are in the range we want. Like, we might be able to find loads of big ones, but can you find loads of ones on the smaller side or the middle size? So we're about 2,000 sites in now, but I've got all of Friday, Monday, and Tuesday next week blocked out to get more of that. So I don't know. The honest answer is I don't know, Daniel, but in the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
Deepak says, want to know about risk management and investing in websites and investing in high quality content. That could be a show, couldn't it, in a way? It could be an episode. There's quite a lot in there. It's not just a simple answer, I would say. Diversification and
that's crazy. I think there's too many external variables to actually have like a good like set of metrics or an actual like conclusion. It's more directional. I think it would be really hard to quantify. And I've seen like projections on, sites for sale and stuff, and it looks like it's accurate because it's very precise, but there's like,
Yeah.
whatever, 30 variables, and they're all like a 50% chance, which it whittles down to like whatever, like a 1% accuracy or something. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So I don't know how you would do it.
Yeah. If you're going to go into that kind of depth, it's complicated, I would say. But yeah, other than just the standard answer of like diversify your traffic, diversify your income, all of that kind of stuff. Have multiple sites when you can. Don't have multiple starts at the start. Just have one at the start. Make sure it's successful, and then do it. It's diversification is the simple answer. But if you're going to go into the depths that Doug's talking about, it's much more complicated. So, out of interest, would you actively encourage your kids to do what you do now? For me, like, I've definitely thought. I don't know about. I mean, website investing. Why not if they're interested in it? But like, I've definitely thought more around, because I went to university. Thought I got a big job at Microsoft. That's what I thought we should do. Work in the corporate world. I would definitely be encouraging my kids to really think about what it is that they want to do, and supporting them in doing that their own way. Maybe them with someone else. Maybe it makes sense for them to, if they want to get into a certain industry, they do work somewhere for a couple of years and gain that experience. But I do want to help them kind of focus on doing something on their own for themselves rather than for someone else. So in that way, I think in terms of entrepreneurship, I definitely do want to encourage my kids to realize that was an option, which I didn't really acknowledge as an option for many, many years. So I'll at least give them that option. I guess even entrepreneurship's not for everybody. But yeah, I think I want to actively encourage them to explore entrepreneurship and the options that provides, I guess. How about you guys?
Yeah, agreed. I think I can't wait for Parker to turn just old enough so he can start to type content for me. Like, he's going to start paying his way in rent by writing content for my website. It's as simple as that. Like, and from the age of about 10 to 18, like, that's his job in the house after school. Pocket money, paying his way. He can write content. So.
Cool.
I'm not going to push them down into college or anything like that. They can do what they want. I'm obviously going to encourage them to do something on their own steam. But if they really want to be a doctor or a teacher or anything, then that's fine too. We do need those professions. But yeah, not some office worthless job. Definitely would be discouraging that.
Yeah. That's good. Carl doesn't think I'm about to pass, so that's good to know. Thanks, Carl.
Carl's not a doctor, though.
That's good, because they'll get it wrong anyway, right?
You bastards. Don't trust any of them.
Cool. Okay, so I think we've got 10 minutes to go, so we'll start thinking about wrapping things up and getting things going. Don't forget to like the stream. We're at, 26 or 34? We're at 26, 34 watching right now. There's 36 watching right now, so go ahead and like the stream, because we're going to do a giveaway in 5 minutes or so. If we get to 35 likes, we're at 26, so we just need 9 more of you, so hit that like button. Anything else to add, guys, before we move off this topic?
No, I think that's it.
That I turned into a really depressing thing. But I guess the one other thing I sort of thought about mentioning, this hopefully isn't too depressing, because this is the way I always think about stuff, and I have done for a long, long time, actually. Someone once said to me, how much do you value your time? Like, I used to, definitely in my family, I definitely think from people from our generation with our parents, like having, their parents gone through the war and stuff, is like always doing things yourself, like always doing all the DIY, always getting hands-on and doing stuff and not paying someone else to do it because money is scarce. And actually then thinking about, and somebody said to me, well, how much is your time worth to you? You could pay someone X pounds an hour to do that. Is your time worth more than that or not? And when we think about this when you're placing your chips, is it worth me decorating that room or putting up that shelf versus doing something else? And putting a value on how much your time is worth is really good. And I think having a really high value, so you might put £100 or £200 an hour on what your life is worth, your time is worth, so you can go and pursue those things, those bigger things that you're trying to work towards, which we've just spoken about, that you should, you've kind of planned. What are those bigger things that I want to achieve in life? Well, putting up a shelf is not getting me there. So, like, how much do I value that time versus the money that it will cost me to get somebody else to do it? And my wife's, hopefully they're not watching, but my wife's family is kind of the worst for this. They just do stuff themselves all the time. So what they'll do is they'll buy something on eBay because it normally costs £40, but they got it for 10. But then they'll drive, 800 miles, pick it up in the car and drive back. So, and they probably spent the same in fuel and everything.
Yeah.
And a whole day out of their life or whatever.
Yeah, they put no value on their life at all. Like their time, no value on their time. But they do this. That's a lot. That's kind of the mindset.
Save 30 quid.
Save 30 quid. Just cost me a week collecting it and like whatever. But it is. Yeah, it's the kind of thing they do all the time. But I don't know if you guys thought about that. Like, do you think actually my time's worth more than the cost of getting someone else to do that? Do you ever think of it in that way?
Yeah. I thought like that for quite some time. I'll happily pay someone to do anything, especially DIY work, because if I put a shelf up anyway, it will take like 3 or 4 hours. There'll be multiple holes in the wall. You put a book on it, the whole thing will fall down, if not the wall as well. So it's just best, everyone involved, if I just pay a professional person to do that. But yeah, I think realizing that money is obviously important, but your time is far more important, and being able to get to a point. I mean, it's nice for us sitting here saying, "Oh yeah, well it's easy, you just pay someone to do it." But obviously, a lot of people, they don't have the expendable income to do that, so the focus is on the money there. So therefore, they'll put time in wherever they can just to save that bit of money. But of course, over the long run, that is going to not lead to a happy life, I don't think. I don't know. Once my kids have left us home and grown up and everything, maybe I'll be different. But at the moment, it's all about, spending time with them. So this morning, I was just spent time with my daughter, and we went out cafe and went to feed the fish down at the port and just spend some time. Because I knew I was going to be doing some work this afternoon with you guys and another stream and whatever. And if I put a few hours in a day, then I'm happy. And the rest of the time is my own.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and I think I usually don't put like a dollar amount, although like depending on what I'm doing, like if someone's trying to barter or something like that, then I'm like, all right, I need to put some dollar amount. But really I'm thinking about like convenience most of the time. So if I could save time or like hassle or something like that, or maybe there's like a cheaper thing that I want to buy at a different store, I'll usually just buy it where I'm at, so I don't have to like go do an extra errand or something. The one thing that I just did recently, I did all that work in the front yard with a stone, and it was a ton of work. I'm not even sure how many hours. I may have actually saved, hundreds of dollars per hour by doing it myself, because it would have been very expensive. But the thing is, I enjoyed doing it. There's other stuff I don't enjoy doing, but I was like, this is a big project. I know I can do it. I want to do that. And I think you have to keep that in mind, because if you just think, my time is worth X, then technically I should pay somebody to walk the dog every day, because I could get that for cheaper than what I value my time, but I actually enjoy walking the dog. So it's like you have to figure out, again, like what your values are. And then, Alex, you want to spend time with your kids, right? Like you don't want to, like you'd rather do that. So you could pay a babysitter to go do what you just did, but you would rather do it yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it seems pointless having a dog or a child if all you do is pay someone else to look after it.
Yeah. One of my neighbors does that. Like I saw like random people showing up. Yeah, they like paid. They have dog walkers now. And I'm like, oh man, you guys could definitely use a walk. Like
that's the point of having a dog,
exercise.
isn't it? And that's the point of having kids. A lot of people have kids, and then before they know it, they like drop them in with the childminder or childcare, and they go back to work, and then they just don't see their kids, and then they end up just earning money to pay for someone to look after their kids. It's like, how does that even fit into anything of what you're doing in your life? Well, I've got to get back to work. I need some. Why did you have kids then? It's like, what's the point of having kids? You're just going to see them at a weekend?
Well, you need a good retirement
that probably
plan.
is enough for some people, maybe.
You need a good retirement plan, Alex. Obviously, you're going to pay for your care home, right? So that's why. That's obviously why.
Okay, we'll cover off the last few comments in a sec. If you are interested in some niche website builders merch, type something into the chat now, and we'll put you into the draw. We've got 34 likes, so we need one more person to deliver a like in the next 5 minutes. We're going to assume. So if you're interested in some merch, type something. You need to put it in the chat, otherwise we won't get your name out. Just the way it works. So type something, anything in the chat. A couple of last comments, which made me laugh. Bradbury. Car mechanics did me. Tried to replace some fog lamps on a Volvo S40. 6 hours later, in the depths of winter, torn knuckles, broken tools, never touched the car again. Garage every time. So.
Yeah. I remember when I was a teenager, 18, 19, when I had a car and didn't have any money, and just obviously was continuously getting through brake pads and tires and things like that, because that's the way that 18-year-olds drive cars. I remember changing like brake pads and stuff and on my Vauxhall Nova, and God knows how I'm alive, really. I mean, I wouldn't dream now of driving in a car where I had personally changed the brakes. That is just suicidal.
There's always 5 screws left over or something, was it?
Yeah. Well, that's normal, I guess.
Cool. And Carl, I've always viewed money as a tool, as a means to make life easier and experiences more accessible. Life is for living, and I value the relationships I make in life more than any monetary value. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's that whole, was it the pyramid of needs? I can't remember what it's called again.
Maslow's hierarchy.
Maslow, yeah. Once you get to a certain point, it's hard to. If you're living on the street, then money becomes really important, or finding a way to get out of that situation becomes a high priority. But once you get further up, you can start doing things a little bit differently. Okay, so we have 37 likes now, so we have enough. Let me just bring up the wheel of names.
Get a bit of music to it with. Chew it up with a bit of hip hop. Not very cheery, actually, is it? To be fair.
Dick.
The most miserable stream.
He's been that. That's
some
horrible.
dark drill. I think no, that's not even drill. I don't know what that is.
Lounge? A lounge instead? Why are they all so dreary?
Today.
We need a bit of Kanye in here to liven the place up a little bit.
What library is this you're looking at?
It's just Restream's one.
Yeah, Restream.
You can't add any new ones in. So there's like that.
Type in upbeat. Is there anything?
Future pop? It's like hold music. This is.
Transition.
Yeah. Okay. Are we ready for the draw?
I'm ready.
Oh no, we're in it. I always take these website builders out. Win our own t-shirt.
I need one. I can't find mine. Lost in the ether of moving.
These website builders, no. Phil, Scott, you've probably been done there because, had I taken me out, you've probably been you. Phil,
you can't say that.
Congratulations, Phil. We'll do another one.
Scott something as well.
Phil, go over to Niche Website Builders, hit up the chat, or just email us, and we'll get something sorted for you.
We had some quality control issues with the WP Eagle merch, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, Scott! Is he going to get it anyway?
Oh,
no, Sonia.
Scott. You're killing Scott.
It's not your day. I was
dangle that carrot in front of him and then take it away.
All right. Congratulations, Sonia. Yeah, if you go to nichewebsite.builders, pick up, go to the chat, go to the contact form, send us a message. If you need a size of t-shirt, we'll send you over what you can win because I haven't shown them, but you've got a t-shirt, mug, cap. We can get your sizes, whatever you need, and get it out to you. All right. Thanks very much, guys, for the truth about being morbid.
And what's going on this week with you? Got anything you want to chat about? Anything exciting coming out?
Did you say me?
Yeah.
I'll just talk since nothing too huge, normal podcast, normal other things. I do have a couple courses for sale that I opened up just for this week: site growth plan and Haro link building. So you could have a look at those. If you go over to my channel, check out the live stream yesterday, you can find a link to those. And I can't remember the specific episode coming out tomorrow on the podcast, but I did just talk to Ariel, who joined us on one of the live streams, and she had a bit of an issue with actually I think it was before the algorithm update that just came out. So that was a fairly popular one. And in contrast, I cover a lot of success stories, but this is real from the field story where someone's like trying to figure out what to work on because things are so in flux and churn.
Nice.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, stream later, 8:30 UK time.
Sites you reviewing, by the way? Whose sites are you reviewing on that one?
Whoever emails me, if you want me to look at your site, Eagle at WP Eagle. I've had a few people email me already, so just viewers' sites mainly.
Okay.
There's also one site I want to look at, in fact, which we'll do a little review on. Have you seen the site conch-house.com?
I've seen loads of people talking about how it got de-indexed, and now with the new Google update, it's re-indexed.
This is the kind of
Back in the
content
dead.
that I think Google are trying to remove from the SERPs, but are struggling. This site
They did
got
the
a lot of,
opposite.
it's getting a lot of traffic, and it's basically just, it looks like AI or just really badly written content, no editing, and it's just basically lots of top 10 lists, the top 10 socks for this, socks for that, whatever.
Do you know
Socks
what
seem to
they're
be the big
doing?
thing at the moment.
If you read the articles, it looks like they've got a very generic opening paragraph where they can just replace the product word key.
Yeah, are you searching for the best blah blah?
Yeah,
Confused with too many options? Oh, you come to the right place. This is the ultimate guide to blah blah blah.
Yeah, and then the products then that pulled in, and the descriptions just pulled in from Amazon. They're the product features.
Yeah, a little API scrape there, and then
And the best
then
of
you
guys
just list them out, and you pull in the features and info again from Amazon. It's literally, this is an AI automated site. There is no humans involved with the content on here. It's pulling stuff down from Amazon. It's spinning a bit of crap, and yeah, this is what useful.
The buyer's guide, that one cracks me up. It's like, what you should look for: price. Is the price a good price for the product that you are looking at? Then maybe you could consider a cheaper option if it's too expensive. If it's too expensive, then you're probably getting a good deal. Like that shit.
Yeah, it's
Wisdom.
like completely not useful content. This is surely what Google are going after. Hopefully, it will make people feel better about their sites, that they're maybe at least delivering a little bit more value than this one. So
We
we'll
don't
be
know
having
because
a
it got de-indexed, but now it's indexed and it's bringing back all its rankings again after this update. It's like, I don't know what's going on. Oh, my camera's gone off.
We've got some funny.
It says the battery is exhausted. What the hell is plugged into the main?
Oh no, not that again. You've had that in the past.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been re-indexed, Alex, like literally in the last couple of weeks, and it's
The Conch House.
storming back up in Ahrefs again.
Wow.
Interesting. So yeah, I've got my Jasper art video, which will be coming out this week. I'm trying to get it out this week. I'm halfway through editing. I should probably outsource my editing. Probably should do that. And yeah, I think that's it. That's all true. And I'll be doing a Thursday stream tomorrow afternoon, just hanging out, working. Going back through one of my sites, I want to optimize it. Noticed, I'm going to call it snippet optimization. For keywords, the site is ranking for certain keywords, and the snippet is showing, but the snippet isn't that good. So I'm going to try and rewrite a few bits of content to try and get those snippets looking a bit better.
Nice.
And Phil has just said the Popcorn 2 is coming out soon, so yeah, that's our new theme.
Nice.
Is it much different from the original, or is it just an update?
I think it's quite different. Yeah, it's more full site editor, so you can do more stuff. Whether that's what people want, I guess that remains to be seen. This is one of the beauties of the Popcorn is that you don't have to do too much editing or customization. You can literally just post content. But we'll still have both versions available.
Nice. Cool.
You downplayed it, but Phil says big updates.
Well, Phil's doing a lot of work on it. Yeah, it's a lot of new stuff, and it's going to have more features built in for affiliates. So at the moment we've got the affiliate disclaimer, but there's going to be other things like, so you can easily add like tip boxes, which is something that we're doing in our content quite a lot. So when you're talking about something, you summarize it in a nice, colorful box. Tip: or just to make a big point. So more useful Gutenberg blocks for niche websites.
Yes. We're going to talk about the useful content update tomorrow, which is not much to report, but I'm sure we'll have to talk about something about
Drag it out
where content's going and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll still be a useful show, even though it's not many exciting graphs to show, really. So, but anyway, we also have where is it? It's Building Empires event. Just to plug it again, building.empires.live. Lots of great speakers talking about making money online and building content sites. So go and sign up for that if you haven't already. And you can also view the replays from the event in June if you'd like to do so at the same URL. Anything else to add, Adam, before we go?
No, I'm just worried. I'm just wondering when my camera's going to turn off again now.
It's okay so
living
far.
On the edge. I'm living on the edge.
You risk taker. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. No, there it is. It's gone.
There it goes.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone, for tuning in. Have a
See y'all.
great rest of the week. We'll catch you tomorrow and catch Alex tonight on his stream.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.